Hi, my name is Mary Wong. Welcome to my live post number 39, where I welcome Zeynep Uraz today, and I'm really excited to have her with us because we're talking about fertility that matters, and this is part of Fertility Matters Canada. So tell us a little bit about you.
Thanks for having me, by the way. I'm a naturopath, and I focus specifically, I work with couples and individuals who are trying to conceive, and I'm an advisory council member for Fertility Matters Canada. And Fertility Matters Canada is basically the National Fertility Support Association.
Great. Okay, so, and this is why I want to address this, because this week is the Canadian Infertility Awareness Week. And before I go forward with this conversation, I actually have to acknowledge that I don't like the word infertility, because really I would prefer it to be Canadian Fertility Awareness Week, because the conversation is about helping fertility, and how I have always put it, infertility can be a transient place of being. So it doesn't have to be of permanence. And so I would like to see there be a more of a positive outlook with regards to fertility challenges. And I know that the former name of Fertility Matters Canada used to be called the Infertility Awareness Association of Canada. So, and that's transformed into a much more positive name, Fertility Matters, right? And it does. So I just had to add that in.
Okay.
So keep talking.
We'll have to remember that for next year. Thank you. But you're right. The term infertility definitely has a more finality to it. It feels more permanent than the term fertility challenges. So it's a good point you make.
So tell us why we should consult or look into Fertility Matters, and what do we have as resources to offer?
Well, I think we all know, those of us who work with people who are going through this challenge, and anybody who has gone through the challenge of trying to build their family knows what a difficult process it is. There's a lot of stress associated with it, a lot of isolation, a lot of sometimes depression, and so I think it's important for people to know that there's resources out there available for them that they can access. Fertility Matters Canada is a wonderful organization, a very kind of grassroots organization that provides a lot of services for people going through their journeys.
So this is a Canadian resource. So the affiliate in America would be Resolve,
or the similar association.
Exactly.
Resolve.
Yeah. So it's like a sister organization. Right. And I really do recommend both these resources, just because if I think about it, when I see patients come into our clinic, they're always consulting Dr. Google, and unfortunately, Dr. Google sometimes have good information, but unfortunately, there's a lot of misinformation.
And that's a great point. So on the Resolve website and on the Fertility Matters Canada website, there are a lot of resources, reliable resources that patients can turn to when they're looking for information. So that's a great point that you bring up. And
current information. Because of course you can always consult my book for lots of information as well. Anything, do you want to address more to like the website, what it offers specifically?
Yeah, I think one thing I didn't realize that was available through their website is they have they have a listing of the local support groups. So all the support groups across Canada, whether they're support groups associated with fertility clinics or online support groups, all the varying support groups that exist are listed on their website. And so anyone who wants to join a support group can go on the website and potentially find a support group in their area or join an online support group.
So I have a question about that then. So these support groups, are they monitored or guided by a health professional?
I believe that some are. I know, for example, Jan Silverman's support group is listed on there. Yeah, I think for the most part they are.
So I'm going to be biased and say I love Jan Silverman. She is the best.
She is the best. And her support group, I think, has been running for 15 years or something crazy like that. At least, yeah.
And it's every third Thursday of the month.
Create.
At Create.
Yes, and she's so dedicated to the cause. And she runs that support group. I think she just does it out of the goodness of her own heart.
Absolutely. And with her, I know her story in which she herself had fertility challenges. And back then, in the good old days, there was no other alternative except for going child-free or adoption. So she chose adoption, but it's still definitely in her heart. So, so she is a really great resource and definitely an empathetic ear, and she gets the whole nuance of infertility challenges. And certainly when you consult someone like myself or Zeynep for naturopathic medicine or Chinese medicine, yes, we can give that empathetic ear. However, there's only so much time in our treatment, right? So I really do urge people to consult support groups. Not everybody's into it, though.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people feel it's a really private journey, but there are those online support groups that might be a better forum for some people who are still maybe more private about their journeys.
Sure, and then I'll say be cautionary with that, because if there's no health professional in the group, sometimes it ends up to be a bickering session.
Okay.
So sometimes that does happen. I like more the positive spin rather than spiraling downward with other people.
For sure. And the website has some published material through some of our professional members. So we talked a little bit about that as a resource. And the other really nice thing about Fertility Matters Canada is it acts as a patient advocacy organization. So it works with other advocacy organizations as well. Conceivable Dreams here in Ontario that was advocating for OHIP-funded IVF. Fertile Future is that organization. Remember, we attended that event. Course.
So that's for cancer survivors or people going through cancer treatments.
Fertility preservation.
For fertility preservation,
So that's another wonderful thing that Fertility Matters Canada does.
Okay, so as a liaison.
Yes, and so during Canadian Infertility Awareness Week or even other times, one of the things we're looking for is people to share their stories on the website. So they can submit their stories in blog post or in a video format. So they're welcome to do that. We always love to gather more stories, and we want to hear from people who are at all stages of their journey to become parents. So whether they're still, considering all their options, or maybe deciding to live child-free, or maybe have experienced a lot of loss, we want to hear from everybody.
Absolutely, because of course, as you go through it, you're literally experiencing all of the gamut, and it would be nice to have someone guide you through that, because unfortunately, as we all know who have gone through it, it is a very lonely process. And sometimes, even if you're not comfortable with saying it out loud to your friends and family, just having that resource helps you be a little bit more at peace, if you will, even if it's for a moment of time.
And I think there's a lot to be said for experiencing the journey with other people who know what it's like to be there. So sometimes our friends and family members have the best of intentions, but don't understand or don't know the right things to say. But when our patients can meet with other people who are going through their journeys at the same time, I think that can be very impactful.
Absolutely, and I've certainly seen when I've encouraged patients to go to these kinds of fertility groups, there's a hesitancy, but once they go, they see, oh my goodness, there's people of like-minded, not just like-minded, they're just in a position in their lives where they're experiencing similar things, and they completely get you. So I think it's really important to hook up with others if you're not comfortable with doing that with your family members. And even though they may be supportive, they don't fully get where you're coming from if they had not gone through the experience, right? So it's a very different kind of support.
Yeah. Some of the other things you can do besides sharing your story, you can sign up for Fertility Matters Canada's newsletter. They provide monthly newsletters that kind of bring you up to date on all the things that are happening. And you can like Fertility Matters Canada or follow them on Facebook and see what they're up to.
Okay, great. And then, so with all that, like I love the love, I love the support, but sometimes we also need to have permission to completely say goodbye for a while, right? Like, you know, if you need a break, like you've done an IVF and it's not working,